Donkey Kong has quite the past. He first appeared in 1981 starring in his very own arcade game, Donkey Kong, alongside two other characters, an Italian plumber called Jumpman and a damsel in distress named Pauline. And to say that this game was a success is one of the biggest understatements in gaming history. This thing generated over $100 million in profit for Nintendo within a year. Without Donkey Kong, Nintendo wouldn't be the industry gamer juggernaut it is today. And on November 21st, 1994, 13 years after Donkey Kong made some bank for Nintendo, he got his very own series that would once again change the world. Donkey Kong Country for the Super Nintendo Entertainment System, aka the SNES, and also my first ever video game. This game refined Donkey Kong's whole universe, introducing his iconic little buddy Diddy Kong and changing platforming gaming forever. Sure, Mario might be the face of Nintendo, but Donkey Kong was the one who gave Mario the jumpstart into super video game stardom and helped Nintendo from the very start. Sadly, a lot of people tend to forget that part. Then there was one thing that seemed to be a little bit off with the Big Ape and his game release schedules. In other words, Donkey Kong seemed to be disappearing into the background as of late. There was a time where Donkey Kong was always on Mario's heels. However, that seemed to stop after Donkey Kong Country Tropical Freeze released on the Wii U back in 2014. After Tropical Freeze, things for the Big Ape in terms of original games seemed to come to a halt faster than an out-of-control minecart. Sure, Tropical Freeze was ported over to the Switch, then the original trilogy, and finally, Donkey Kong Country returns in 2025, but there was zero news about a potential Donkey Kong game. And it was like that for a while, until a new console came out. The Switch 2 bombed the market back in early summer of 2025, and along with Mario Kart World Hoopla came Donkey Kong Bananza, a new open-world 3D Donkey Kong game, made by the very same people who made Super Mario Odyssey. Now, if there's one thing that can't be even more obvious on my channel, other than my love for Yoshi, is my love for Donkey Kong. I love this Big Apes games, especially the Country series. So when I saw that game, I knew what I had to do. I had to play this thing by any means necessary. There was just one tiny itty bitty little baby problem. I could not get my hands on the Switch 2. Yeah, since this console was in very, very, very high demand, I decided to put a pause on the Bonanza hype train, and also with all the chaos that was surrounding Nintendo, I wasn't even sure I would get my grubby little mitts on the console itself, let alone the game. And then, on Christmas Day, I got my hands on the console itself, and Donkey Kong Bananza. But I didn't even set up my Switch 2 until April of 2026, aka last month. Why the delay? Look, I got busy, okay? I had voice acting to do. So now that I had the time in my insane schedule, I decided to tackle Bonanza head on and play it. Is Donkey Kong Bonanza a top tier game for DK to use to step into the 3D world? Or is it a game that was way overhyped and is secretly just cuckoo for banana puffs? Well, let's find out. The game starts up with a rather interesting cutscene, with a bunch of monkeys working with pickaxes, clearly digging for something in an area known as Ingot Isle, until... Here's the Big Ape himself! Headlands are light and all, sporting an amazing new redesign as well. And might I say, he looks really good. He looks a lot more different than he did in the country games, that's for sure. It looks a bit like he did in the Mario movie, which is honestly pretty dang cool, and I actually really like the redesign. Now, unlike the earlier Donkey Kong Country titles where you're chasing a potentially lethal dose of potassium, there's an actually decent story in Bananza. As DK explores the lower levels of Ingot Isle, he finds something known as Badandium gems, which he is absolutely obsessed with. However, he's not the only one who wants these Badandium gems. As a company known as Voidco, led by Void Kong, how original, also, they want those sparkly gems of potassium, and they use a giant machine thingy, I don't know what that is, to push Ingot Isle underground alongside Donkey Kong and the rest of the workers on Ingot Isle. After freeing himself by smashing through rocks like Wreck-It Ralph and exploring a bit, Donkey Kong ends up finding a rather goofy-looking purple rock. Not too long later, it is revealed that the rock had someone trapped inside of it, and that someone turned out to be none other than Pauline. Wait, Pauline? Why is she so young here? Hello? Huh? Doesn't she usually look like this? Does this take place before Odyssey or something? Hello? Yeah, that was not what I expected at all. I thought she would come in at some point, considering she's literally on the game cover, but I didn't think she was the purple little rock thingy. I guess we all get surprises in our life. Moving on. After Pauline is freed from her purple rock prison, they learn that the core of the planet can grant their wish and send Pauline home to the surface. However, to do that, Donkey Kong needs to learn something known as Bananza forms, which we'll get into later, and race to beat Voidco to the core before they cause irreparable damage. Now, one thing is for sure here, this game is absolutely massive! With 17 layers in total, layers being the main areas and all, but each one is very special. It feels similar to Mario Odyssey, where each world feels larger than life, meticulously crafted, and looks like a heck of a lot of fun to explore. One layer is a lagoon that reminded me of a peaceful pond, one is a tropical area with some enormous fruits that triggered some feelings within me. Moving on. There's also an area made with food entirely that triggered my food aggression because holy smokes, this food looks so dang good, it's making me hungry! There's also my favorite area, a canyon-esque area with a cowboyish feel to it. You can tell that each and every one of these levels had so much thought, care, and pure love put into them. And I love that so much! I love how much care the crew that made the game put into these levels to make each and every one of them enjoyable and fun to play through. Now, what is DK's main mechanic in this game? Breaking things. And boy oh boy, does the king of Congo Bongo do it quite well. Donkey Kong is essentially a one-man Wreck-It crew, or 1/8 Wreck-It crew. Kind of like Wreck-It Ralph, minus the stump, and add an insatiable buck-wild craving for potassium. Donkey Kong can sure wreck with the best of them here. He is so freaking strong that he can break the rocky terrain, rip out some of the ground/wall to use as a weapon, either smack enemies or clear out vines, throw rock chunks at enemies and knock them out of the air, or to reach other locations. And a lot more thanks to the terrain of Donkey Kong Bananza. An amazing mechanic that brings me a lot of joy. Along with progressing through the game, you can also collect stuff. And in Donkey Kong Bananza, there is plenty to collect. In similar fashion to Super Mario Odyssey, there's a lot of stuff to find. Gold nuggets, which not only serve as your currency, but also as your life system. There's also the Badandium chips. Sometimes you find these little dudes mixed in with the nuggets. Fossils. Some are just plain old dinosaur bones, but some do contain little references to previous Donkey Kong games if you look hard enough. That's such a cool detail, and I'm so happy that the devs took the time to actually implement that into the game. Now these things aren't just for collecting. Some areas have shops where you can purchase some cute little outfits for Donkey Kong and Pauline. Heck, you can even dye DK's fur, which is just awesome! However, these clothes aren't just for style. No. They've also got stats attached to them. Some protect you from certain hazards in the world, extend Bananza forms, get double the gold, and much more. So maybe it's worth it to try and pick out a good outfit. Maybe you'll get some stat boosts from it. One thing I would like to chat about real quick is that I adore how Pauline and Donkey Kong have a rather unique dynamic in this game. Honestly, the devs put a lot more detail and attention into this than I was expecting. Donkey Kong is a rather expressive, goofy big ape who loves bananas and smashes through rocks and other things like that. But Pauline is a 13-year-old girl who wants to sing but is too shy to act upon her dreams. So DK tries to help her through her stage fright, and Pauline does come in handy with helping out DK along their journey. One thing I do love dearly is that every time DK and Pauline rest, you can get this small monologue about their situation and a little bit of just some lore in there. And it's honestly touching. It's damn hard to write a sidekick, let alone one for a Nintendo game, and to add another level to the insanity cake, one that talks. You can only go so far with a sidekick until you start getting something called the Navi effect, where the sidekick is just very annoying and not at all pleasant to be around and not very helpful. However, the writing team and Pauline's voice actress, Jennifer Kidd, they pulled it off. They did a really good job. They wrote a sidekick that is not only helpful, but also, I like Pauline's talking in this game. It's not really annoying at all. I just love DK's and Pauline's dynamic in Bananza. They have a dynamic almost like a big brother and a little sister, which fits pretty darn well, mainly because they can like bounce off the goofy energy and stuff like that. Props to the writing team and Jennifer for that one. Speaking of Pauline, I could talk about Donkey Kong for hours, but we can't forget about Pauline. Pauline is also a main staple of the game too. Pauline's role in Bananza is mainly a support character. She is not only DK's sidekick for the game, but she can also be quite helpful in gameplay. Pauline's voice can help DK break the seals made by Voidco, and she and DK to whistle together to find out where to go next. That is so freaking helpful. Oh my goodness gracious, you have no idea how many times I got lost in this game and I had to whistle to find the way out. Pauline is also helpful if you have two players, which I never really properly experienced, mainly because I ended up playing Bananza all by myself. But she can shout words at enemies and it will hurt them. I guess Bananza took the expression words can't hurt to the next level here because apparently they do. But the big thing that Pauline can do here is help out DK with getting his Bananza forms. As you carry on with your adventure to stop Voidco, you'll come across these elders, who ask DK and Pauline to aid them in recovering their ancient records. But these records aren't just ancient, they are Bananza records. Once you recover the records, there's a concert where Pauline sings her heart out and Donkey Kong transforms into his Bananza forms. These forms grant DK the ability to transform into specific animals and give him certain abilities. The Kong Bananza form makes Donkey Kong's already cracked as hell strength to increase tenfold, making breaking through walls and such a lot easier. The Zebra form, which looks silly, allows you to run on surfaces that wouldn't normally hold DK's weight and increases his speed. The Ostrich form allows DK to fly short distances and drop egg bombs. The Elephant form allows you to clear the way of hazardous things and overall looks pretty dang sick. And last but not least, there's the Snake form, which makes you jump high and can slow down time with the glare ability. These forms also look so dang good! They look like DK actually transformed and fused a bit with the other animals, which is just amazing and really well done. I just love these forms so much, especially the Ostrich. I feel like the Bananza abilities were inspired by the original Animal Buddies as well, or at least some of them. Kong form visually is just DK but buffer. The abilities were probably inspired by Rambi the Rhino, with being able to smash through anything. Hey, and also he appears in the game. Hi, Rambi! I'm pretty positive the zebra form was just an original thing. There sure as hell ain't no zebras in the country games. The ostrich form is expressive the ostrich, with being able to glide for short distances. The elephant form is most likely Ellie the elephant, with being able to suck things into a trunk and clear the way. And the snake is most likely Rattly the rattlesnake, with him being able to jump high, although the glare ability was most definitely an original concept. While there is not 100% confirmation that this is what helped inspire the Bananza forms, I personally would love to think that this was the case. Although, I do wonder, where in tarnation did the zebra come from? Hey, quick editor's note for the future here. Apparently, the zebra form comes from the fact that the devs took inspiration from animals in Africa, and a zebra happens to be one of the animals that they chose. Yeah, pretty cool. Actually, I kind of like that a lot. Anyway, that's actually pretty sick. Alright, editor's note out. Anyway, another thing I do want to talk about is the music. Oh my goodness! The freaking music is just amazing! I've seen a lot of video games before with very, very good music, but Bananza has wormed its way into my playlist easily. Nintendo games in general have really good music, but Donkey Kong's music has always been another level of insane, but in the best way possible. Naoto Kubo, I 100% butchered that name, I am so sorry, I don't know how to pronounce it, is the mastermind behind the music in DK Bananza, with the assistant and contributions of Daisuke Matsuoka. Just a heads up real quick, I am 100% gonna butcher these names. Reika Nakai, Yuri Goto, Tosaka Usui. I'm so sorry, I butchered all of those names. I don't know how to say them, I'm so sorry. They also remixed some of David Wise's tracks from the original Donkey Kong Country games, which was awesome. I wish we got to see David Wise return to composing, but I'm still happy with what we got for Bananza. It's really good music, especially with the Bananza tracks. Those tracks, when you turn to the Bananza forums, are just purely magical to my ears. Now, just a quick heads up, I'm not a professional music person here. I know very little about music, so I can't quite tell you what the remixes are for the Bananza music, but I do know that they're all unique and they're very enjoyable to listen to. My favorite probably being the Kong soundtrack, probably because I transformed into him a lot. Now, another thing you probably want to remember is to collect those Bandanium gems. Why? Well, because of the skill tree, of course. By collecting 5 Bandanium gems, you acquire a skill point. You can use those skill points to increase a skill of your choice, such as increasing your strength, increasing the amount of time that your Bananza form lasts for, new Bananza abilities, getting new moves, increasing your health, and a lot more. With the skill tree, you can also pick up your playstyle. Either upgrade everything except for Bananza forms, upgrade everything except your HP, upgrade everything except learning new moves, upgrade nothing, or upgrade as much as you could. How you utilize your skill points is up to you, the player. It is so awesome to see the Super Mario Odyssey level of customization in a Donkey Kong game. Honestly, it's just so amazing, and the devs really pulled it off here. Now, I have glazed the heck out of Bananza, but this game isn't perfect. It does have a few little things that do bother me, but they're honestly not a huge deal, if at all. Like anything, this could be me just, being a little bit picky. The first thing and the biggest thing that kind of got to me was the bosses. The bosses were kinda weak. Not horrifically weak. Some of them gave a bit of trouble, but they're not very challenging either, except for the final boss, which I don't want to spoil you guys, so I can't rant too much about it. Sorry, guys. But yeah, the bosses were pretty okay in design and execution. Also, once you study their pattern and lock it down, it doesn't take a lot of time to take them down. Also, Pauline's Word of Destruction co-op also kind of break the bosses, which is kind of a problem. And honestly, so do some of the Bananza forms. Except if you're speedrunning. I highly recommend co-op if you want to speedrun this game. The bosses weren't a strong aspect of the game. They aren't the weakest aspect either. One of my favorite bosses, though, was easily the witch that you fight in the canyon. minecart! I love that concept! I love it so much! Mainly because I am a sucker for minecart levels, but that's besides the point. The bosses could have been a bit better, but then again, we can't all have Tropical Freeze's level of difficulty because I know for a fact a lot of people complained about that. The last thing that did get me is the fact that the frame rate does kind of drop at certain points, specifically at the late game, but then again, I'm sure Nintendo will eventually patch it, but then again also there's just so much going on in the late game, I kind of understand why. However, other than those two minuscule little things, the cons definitely do not outweigh the pros for me. Also, Bananza does have its own set of challenges for those who want a bit of a challenge. In Bananza, there are these little things called the Ruins Challenges, where you go into a door to do challenges and collect more Bandanium gems. These challenges can be anything from using certain moves to cross terrain, breaking down structures, or just smashing things like the Hulk. Whether it's using specific abilities with the Bananza forms, gathering up as much gold as you can, or my personal favorite, using a rock to cross over molten lava! Just kidding, those are fun, but they're not my all-time favorites in the game. My favorite ruins are easily the ones where they resemble Donkey Kong Country in side-scrolling levels. That was just overall an amazing thing to see again. Those levels made me feel like I was 4 years old again playing Donkey Kong for the first time. It honestly put a huge smile on my face to see those levels, especially the minecart levels. Those were quite the sight to see with a fresh coat of paint. Also real quick, because I know for a fact some people are gonna bring this up, something I cannot talk about mainly because I didn't do it was the sculpting thing. But it does look pretty fun, so I might give it a try. If I do, I'll put some pictures up of what I sculpted. DK Bananza is truly the only reason I was even remotely interested in the Switch 2 at first. Until Yoshi and the Mysterious Book was announced, but Bananza was one of the only things that truly pushed me to even be interested in a Switch 2. I love this game. It not only feels like a brand new Donkey Kong game as it should, but it also honors its roots with the original arcade game, the Donkey Kong Country series, Donkey Kong 64, Jungle Beat, and even honors Mario Odyssey along with it. The gameplay is amazing, exploring around, collecting Bandanium gems, upgrading the skills, and everything else just feels so natural. I truly do hope that this is the start of a new era for DK and he'll probably jump back into his prime. This game is absolutely amazing. It feels so good to play, and honestly, I'm glad I got my hands on it. I hope you all will consider getting the game if you haven't already. It's a truly wonderful experience and something I deeply enjoyed as a longtime Donkey Kong fan. Also, don't forget to grab your... Thank you all so much for watching all the way to the end. If you ended up liking this video and you want to see more videos like this one, be sure to let me know down below in the comments. Also, huge thank you to my thumbnail artist, Lucas. And all footage in this video belongs to their respectful owners. Anyway, I can't wait to see you all in the next video. Take care, guys. Bye!